Okay, so let's get started for today. I have a very interesting piece to take a look at. Ta-da! It's from a challenge from a couple months ago, and it is the Harvest Goddess Design Challenge submission that I saved a little while back because I had an idea for it for a critique hour, which is it's just early enough in the process that I can render it for you guys. So it's not so rendered up that I'm just correcting a render. I'm just gonna render it. And then just run through it as fast as possible, like speed run the render. But before I get started, I have a couple of announcements. I once again forgot to turn off the sale for Portrait Studio. So it's still currently on sale at 55% off, which it should not be. My team should have already canceled the sale. I will do it after class. I've just been so flustered. But if you want it during class time, you can still grab it, believe it or not. Also, I have a little wish list running, which is all about gardening. So a lot of you ask me about my wish list. A lot of you ask me about Patreon and how to support me apart from Patreon, which is so wonderful and so sweet, and I love you guys so much. And I really appreciate you guys wanting to give me something. I have never started a wish list before this, and this will be the only type of wish list I start. And it's all about flowers. I love flowers. I love gardening. I'm obsessed with it. And yeah, I can't wait to get started. So if you guys are interested, have a look through my wish list. It'll be linked on this video. So if you guys do, if you were waiting for me to release the wish list, here it is. And thank you so much for looking through it. Okay, so let's get started on today's critique. What I really wanted to do mostly for this piece is just throw my skill at it, render it with as much as I can, while also talking to you guys about how to render. I'm going to separate the object from the background. Obviously, I'm going to adjust her pose. She's more of a sorceress. In this case, she's standing like a warrior, like she's taking orders, like she's ready to take orders. This is not how a queen stands. A queen stands a little bit more relaxed. Yes, there is poise and symmetry, but in this case, she's not just a queen, she's a goddess. She's the goddess of fertility, the goddess of the harvest, the goddess of everything about the fall period, which is what the prompt was all about. Another thing I'm going to do is just talk about texture. So your jade for the necklace, all of the gold, and all of the other natural materials, including the silk or whatever cotton this is, whatever fabric this is, all of them look like they're made from the same material. They all look like they're made out of, painted with the same brush, made out of the same matter. The pose in this case is, again, very boring. So I'm going to try to recreate her pose really quickly with Portrait Studio. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I just want to kind of animate it for you. I want to show you how much we can get just for a character that feels powerful. And then I'm just gonna keep following that attitude. Maybe push one leg back and the other leg this way, like that one moment where Galadriel turns around. And this is the secret to making all goddesses look like goddesses. It's such a simple trick. You make their feet float. When you have a character that has feet that are not floating, they're like just on flat ground, they read as more human. But when you have a character that has floating feet, what does that feel like now? That feels like Jean Grey kind of doing her whole phoenix thing. It feels like a character in their final form. It feels like an all-powerful sorceress that is dominating. So we've tilted the body that way. Look at that kind of low angle, made her look more like a goddess. I'm going to screenshot this, so you can screenshot in Portrait Studio using the screenshot tool, or if you just want to select your screenshot yourself manually, that's also cool. Let's take this over into Liquify. We're going to transform this. The rest is going to fall right into place as soon as I'm done transforming the body. All right, so now we're going to render. And I'm bringing this down, and rendering should go by pretty quickly because once you know how a texture works, you really don't have to guess anymore. Once you have a good reference, there's no guesswork. None of this needs a line. You do not need a line for any of this. What I'm going to do first is do something about her face, because her face looks pretty basic. So I'm just going to render her face. I'm going to get rid of the pupils and the iris. This is a personal choice. I feel like if we're looking at a goddess, she doesn't need a pupil and iris. All right, she's got the vision to, she's got the power to jump through dimensions. She's got the power to travel through time. This is a goddess. I mean, you can't call them goddess if they can't do all that. All right, they need to be outside time and space. That's the only way you're a god. Outside of that, you're not a god. You're like a demigod. A demigod is like super powerful but can't jump through time and space or something like that. But being an all-powerful god means that there are ways that we have to remove your humanity. You're no longer a human. And pupils and iris, in my opinion, is very humanizing. It actually is the first thing we get rid of when we paint a mysterious, dangerous character. When you paint a mysterious character wearing a cowl or you know, like a hood like in Assassin's Creed, it makes the character very suspicious. So I brought in all of the references I want to use. I'm going to start off with the gold, and I'm going to actually put highlights on dodge tool. I'm going to put the highlight range. And again, depending on where the light is coming from, I want to enhance that thickness of the gold crown from the side as seen from this side. For the horns are actually just, you know, basic material, so I'm just going to use any natural rise in the highlight and then just go for my cylinder. And now to make the jade look like jade, I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to duplicate the layer. I'm going to use dodge tool again. I'm just thinking about where the light likes to settle in jade, where it likes to chill. But I'm also thinking about the saturation of jade, where it's going to saturate. I'm going to really up that saturation because the light is trapped inside and it's kind of amplifying the natural color of jade. And then the metal of the scythe is again very easy. It's just like gold except that it's metal. So very similar pattern. There's just no saturation line because there's not a lot of pure metal gold color in there. So it's the same thing. There's just no saturation line, but there is a very strong band of light running through it. And there is also just completely raising the white of the background. That'll also help you not have to darken her, but still give her some kind of silhouette. One thing that's really cool is using the red in some other place. So using red on the horns actually is really reminiscent of what we see in Indian culture, which I really, really love. Rim light, it really does need a darker background. Plus it doesn't happen unless there is a darker background because you're kind of positioning it so it's visible. I want to add that little halo. It'll just do a lot. So let's take a look at the before and after finally before I add another hour to this process. So everybody ready? So again, today I used Portrait Studio to help me with the pose. I used Google to help me find these two. Portrait Studio is still on sale on my website. It shouldn't be, but it is. You guys can grab your copy and then it'll go back to a regular sale price technically, which is like $60 for Portrait Studio. So before we had, it looked like a character it looked like a normal woman wearing a headdress. It looked like a priestess. It didn't look like a goddess. The after definitely has goddess vibes. She's floating like a goddess. Her eyes, she feels distant from us. Do you see what I mean? She looks too good for you, and that's how she should look. She looks like she's just above this realm. She's above all things. So now the textures are reading like they're supposed to, which is the reason, the way for texture to read as what it's intended is only through reference, only through you breaking down. Look at the saturation band on either side of the pure yellow white of the highlight, and look at the bands. It reflects the nearby light in the way it falls on it. It's reflective. It's mirror basically. It's just a gold mirror. It's just a yellow mirror. There's a little bit more light play. There's partial silhouette, like I mentioned at the start. There's rim light, and then there's a little bit of direct light for the face and the body, which is what you see in a lot of popular drawings nowadays. Her feet are suspended. She's floating. She's not part of. She's not. She has extreme power now. She's not just powerful. She is power. She emanates power, almost like she commands the sun. But this is all of it, really. This is what character design is. Learn the anatomy of the texture and understand the pose that you're using, and go in with a strong story that helps you identify the trope that'll pull off everything. Make sure you're not going too crazy with your uniqueness. Don't try to be unique all the time. Sometimes you need to establish the specific places on the spectrum before you start freestyling and doing your own stuff. That's it, really. Thank you all for watching. If you learned something today and you want to give back, please consider joining as a $1 patron. That's just $12 a year to get all of this educational content, and all patrons, including watchers, which are the $1 tier, that's the watcher tier, get the full lesson from today. That's an hour tutorial you're only getting for like $1. You're getting for only $1. So please consider joining as a patron. To do so, go to istebrak.com and click here for the Patreon support me button. There's also subreddit. This piece was submitted to subreddit. That's where I got it. So please click here to join the subreddit. To join my Discord, go to the community tab. To buy Portrait Studio, which you saw me use to build a great reference for today, go to the store tab. My masterclass is also on sale as well at 50% off. It's also going to be, this is also accidentally still on sale. The sale will be turned off as soon as I can this week, hopefully after class if I remember. But if you still are, if you're here and you just heard this, you may have a chance to grab it. I finally have a wish list, and the wish list is just flower seeds. And they're usually like really, really low. There are a couple of more expensive items for those who want to give a little bit more, but they're really, really cheap, and it should ship right to me. I don't know if this works internationally. I've heard that there are some of you who are having issues with it internationally. I am sorry. The most important ones are the pollinator ones. Those are the ones that I'm going to be putting in that big circle where I won't be mowing. It'll be for the sake of pollinators and helping out the bees in my area. But that's it. If you guys wanted to have a different way to give back, this is my wish list, and it's now open. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for being a part of this community. Thank you for watching the whole live stream. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys next week at 5 p.m. Eastern. Bye.